Watch this.
You can see it and even feel it, at least financially. Buying gas, buying groceries, buying all kinds of things. Maybe your budget shrinks faster than you've expected these days. It's called inflation, and it's the highest it's been in almost 40 years. So is it time to panic? 30 days out until lawmakers are back in Boise to begin lawmaking. It seems like they were just here. We know it's clickbait, but we'll bite. What is the ugliest city in Idaho? Maybe you've already heard. Well, so have those that live in this gem of a town, and we wanted to know how they feel about it. Well, if you've seen the financial headlines this week, it's a throwback to the 1980s. New American economy data shows that we are seeing the highest rate of inflation in America since 1982. So cue up the Walkman to Olivia Newton-John and let's get physical, because we're taking a trip down memory lane. Economy experts say there is a variety of reasons as to why almost everything these days seems to cost more. But what do we as the average American need to know about this inflation? Is it time to take action on finances? Maybe ease off the credit card ahead of the holiday season a bit? Change our expectations on what we can afford to put on the dinner table? Joe Paris spoke with a Boise financial expert about what you need to know beyond the headlines.
Inflation, inflation, inflation. It's in headlines everywhere this week. But what does it mean?
Well, it's just when there are a lot of people trying to buy a very limited amount of things, then whoever's supplying those things gets to raise prices, because there's like, hey, I've got the monopoly on gas, I've got the monopoly on bread, so I can charge a little bit more.
Nick Daniels is a financial advisor for Tree City Advisors in Boise. Inflation jumped in November by almost 7%, the fastest rate since 1982. Daniels explains that the current situation is nothing shocking and is a result of many factors that have been building for years.
What COVID has done and this pandemic has done is basically kind of given the opportunity for inflation to sort of catch up. And so we're seeing like today the news came out, 6.8% year-over-year inflation from November of 2020. Well, it's sort of catching up to us now.
There isn't one reason as to why America is seeing elevated inflation. Supply chain issues, wages, and the global economy are a few main ones. Really important though, how do we get away from inflated prices on just about everything?
It will take a while for the supply chain kinks to get worked out, and it's not because any one politician is going to talk to one politician over here. It's because businesses that want to stay in business and make money by providing the goods, either the raw materials or the manufactured goods that people are demanding, they're going to talk to each other and figure out how to get those deliveries on time and in a cost-efficient manner. It will work itself out, but that could still take, I don't know, another 18 months or so.
So, what does the average Idahoan need to do now? Is there anything? Well, with more expensive goods and lagging wages, Daniel says take a step back and look at your financial situation.
Let's keep it real simple, and you need to dial in what are your expenses and what are the areas that you could hit the pause button on maybe for a while, just to have a little bit more cash cushion on the side, because I mean, we're feeling it. You know, every time you go to fuel up your vehicle, you see it. Every time you go to the grocery store, you see it. Every time you're paying your utility bills, you're seeing it right now. And so you might just have to make some temporary short-term changes.
But it does seem like this would be a good time, especially for young adults who may have never gone through this, to sit down and say, okay, let's take a look at our finances and let's make some real adult decisions here.
Yeah, adulting's not always fun, but you got to do it. And the thing is, if you're proactive, it's far easier to make the right decisions now rather than being reactive.
What about Idahoans that are keeping a close eye on their investments and retirement? To be honest, people will see media reports about the economy and panic, thinking it's time to act. Daniel says avoid that train of thought.
Honestly, stay the course, because over the long term, you're going to be very glad that you didn't react to the news and the media about inflation, and you just stayed the course, investing on a monthly basis for that 15, 20-year retirement timeline that's ahead of you. Stay the course. Emotions are incredible servants, but they're terrible masters. So don't let your emotions master you. Just stay the course with your investing, with your financial planning, and most likely you'll end up all right.
He's full of all kinds of sage advice, isn't he?
Yeah,
All right,
smart
Joe,
guy.
I know. We were told months ago that this was going to be temporary. This inflation thing, as we come out of the pandemic, was going to be temporary. I mean, you could still call it temporary because we could always go back the other direction. But that's neither here nor there. What's going to help is kind of wages catching up with that. Is that going to be happening anytime soon?
Yeah, and that's something that it's kind of wait and watch, Brian. And this has been really a series of dominoes that got knocked over to really lead up to the point where we are right now. And Brian, as we were really heading into the year 2020 pre-pandemic, there were stuff that was going on in the global economy in terms of also what U.S. manufacturing look like compared to the international manufacturing things. When you add a pandemic to all of this, it kind of complicates all the things. So the economy, as Nick explained, is really a big engine, and for it to get knocked down and really stop suddenly in the middle of the pandemic last year, it takes a lot of time for that engine to start revving up and get rolling again. And we're seeing some of the consequences of COVID and the pandemic and the pandemic economy. But at this point, Brian, we are waiting for the wages to really match up with the rate of inflation. Because at this point, if you're making $1 an hour, just for easy math here, well, your dollar per hour is not going to go as far if you're seeing 6, 7, 8% increases on everything across the board. And at that point, you have people looking for new jobs, and you have issues where you can't fill all the holes as really the water's coming out of the boat, so to speak.
And you can't ignore the fact that higher wages that we're starting to see out there also adding to higher costs of products.
Yeah, because local companies, if they have to pay employees more, they're going to have to start charging for their service for a little bit more. I know you've probably seen it in restaurants. I know we've seen it at the gas pump. That's really one that's obvious to look at. But as you heard Nick explain, it's going to take a little bit of time. So take a step back and really evaluate, according to him, your financial situation. And be honest with yourself is something that he also said.
That's true. Big dominoes have to fall. It's still temporary. We'll hope and see. All right. Thanks, Joe. Well, they officially just ended 3 weeks ago, but ready or not, lawmakers are going to be back at the State House in exactly 1 month. The longest legislative session ever was just completed, likely forever, because normally there's about 6 to 7 months in between each of these sessions. They start in January, they go through April, maybe May, and then they call it a year. This year, though, not only did lawmakers go past the longest normal session in history, they prolonged it by not officially ending it in the spring, just recessing and then reconvening last month, in which, you may remember, they voted to censure Representative Priscilla Giddings and remove her from a House committee. And they sent a strongly worded letter to President Biden about how much they don't like vaccine mandates for private businesses. And that's it. A 3-day cost of about $100,000 and 52 cents for the stamp on the letter. So what's on the agenda for January? Well, there's sure to be all kinds of things, but likely what they left on the table from 3 weeks ago, as well as what they didn't get to back in May, which includes things like what to do about Biden's proposed vaccine mandate for private businesses, the one that is currently tied up in the court system and may work itself through and may not have to do anything about it. Lawmakers couldn't agree on a stance to take last month with this. They vowed to take it back up in January. Other topics, they include property tax relief, always an issue, education funding, always an issue, including all-day kindergarten and higher education. However, it was actually hung up last session, dragging it out until the last days and making it the longest session ever. Lawmakers may also decide what to do with the state's current $1.6 billion surplus, since they're the ones with the authority to authorize how it is spent. And don't forget, 2022, also an election year for a majority of lawmakers. And usually during those election years, we're going to hear a lot about controversial topics like gun rights and abortion. They're going to likely be vocal pieces of conversation. One of them, Idaho likely won't touch. The other, abortion, Idaho did handle the past 2 sessions. Another week, another list, putting another Idaho city in some sort of top 10 or bottom 10. But this one captured our attention and divided the discussion amongst the 208 team. Could Emmett be the ugliest city in all of Idaho? Not if you ask those that live there. Asking your opinion, by the way, is something we do every day here on the 208. So feel free to send them to us whenever you have them. Text them directly to us, 208-321-5614. Don't forget to include your name and the hashtag the 208. And don't forget to stick around because we could be sharing yours at the end of the show.
Minutes away, the popular fabric.
It seems every week, if not every day, we get sent some sort of email or letter or just some sort of notice that someplace in Idaho has made some sort of list. Lately, it's been a lot about housing prices and how unaffordable it is to live here. But this week, there was another list featuring a southern Idaho city that was sent to us. Alot.com puts out a lot of lists. Basically, clickbait. You know what it's like because, people just love lists. Lists about food, about cell phones, about places to visit. Or, in this case, not visit. Like those places on their Alot.com's latest list. One of them had us asking, what's up with that?
Welcome to the city of Emmett, the gateway to Idaho's backcountry. Emmett is a beautiful place, and it's not hard to see why.
Well, it appears some people are having a hard time seeing it. A gateway to Idaho's backcountry? More like a portal to unpleasantness. That's according to one travel website who just named Emmett the ugliest city in Idaho. A website? Psh, do you buy that?
No, I like it. It's quiet. It's a nice small community.
Run by people who have probably never been to Emmett or even Idaho.
Oh, no. No, it's not.
They have some nerve calling this town ugly.
I don't find it ugly.
And if anyone should know about looks, I mean, you're the person to talk to about what's beautiful in this town, right?
Yes, there you go.
It would be Brooke
I love it.
at the Bar B Beauty Shop,
Just small town. Everybody knows everybody.
who's been a, what do you call someone from Emmett?
Ammonite.
Ammonite. I have no idea. Is that true?
I don't know.
For her whole life. You saw this?
Yes.
In fact, the news has made its way around town to a lot of Ammonites.
I seen it yesterday, I think. I was like, oh my gosh, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Even the mayor.
You're always welcome in the beautiful city of Emmett.
Yeah, that guy.
I heard we were voted the ugliest town in Idaho, and we encourage that kind of writing.
Why?
Well, there's a whole element here. I call them the original pioneers here in Emmett, who really don't want to see new people moving in.
This doesn't bother you?
Why? It's like a belly button. Everyone has one, and so she has her opinion. Okay.
Okay, so what exactly makes someone say Emmett is ugly? The online criteria looked at the location, the way it's laid out, a lack of maintenance, a limit on things to do, and local reviews. It's so uninteresting that there's barely any information to be found on the tiny town.
Maybe that's true. I don't know, because we'd never heard of Emmett. We came from Vancouver, Washington. My husband came here for a job, and we were like, Emmett, Idaho, where's that?
One resident laments that the youth have no place to go hang out.
True.
That's true. We raised our kids here, and there wasn't very much for them to do.
Okay, and there's no interesting features.
Okay, that's a lie. We have the park.
The roads and sidewalks are falling apart or non-existent.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
The high school needs to be condemned for health and safety reasons.
We could use a square one.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, when we first got here, we were like, what is that dome thing? And they're like, that's the high school. And we were like, what?
It's not the best, but it's fine. I mean,
Brooke, you're not making a very good case that Emmett is not.
I know.
Okay, so is Emmett Idaho's ugliest city?
I mean, by the looks of it, there's not much to offer.
But then, it's okay. We don't really want a whole lot more people moving in.
And in this city, the people are what it's all about.
So I think it's the people that make the town more than the actual, landscape.
So Emmett is not ugly to Emmonites.
No, I don't think so.
It's certainly not the ugliest in Idaho.
I don't know. I feel like Weezer's pretty ugly.
Or Kuna. Have you seen Kuna? All right, look, we're not trying to start some city rivalry or anything. Just trying to have a little fun, so we kid. But seriously, have you been to Kuna? All right, back to Emmett. There's a river that runs through it, the Payette. They do have an annual festival, the Cherry, and it's the hometown of our current governor, Brad Little. As far as stuff for kids to do there, well, there's a park, there's a sports park, there's a skate park. Where you live is sometimes what you make of it, right? And Emmonites, as they call themselves, maybe, I think, I don't know, well, they believe beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But what about Kuna? Before the turf was Smurf or even green grass was put in for football, this iconic Boise spot was home to the city's very first airstrip. And before we head out for the weekend, we want to hear from you one more time. or a couple more times. Grab your phones and text us your comments, your questions, your concerns, and really anything that's on your mind. Just keep them clever, concise, and clean. 208-321-5614. That's the number. Don't forget to include your name and the hashtag the 208.
Boy, nothing ugly about that shot, is there? Hey, last night the first measurable snow moved in. It didn't last very long. It only dropped up to a ½ inch, maybe up close to an inch in parts of the valley, but left the roads pretty slick and snow covered this morning. And temperatures this afternoon only up to 38 degrees. Average is 39, so pretty close to a normal December day, although we started quite a bit colder as it started clearing off a little bit after the overnight snow, down to 20 degrees this morning. We only got 2, 3, 4/100ths of an inch around the valley, and in that ½ inch or so of snow. Temperatures mainly in the mid to upper 30s throughout the upper Treasure Valley, a little bit cooler over toward Mountain Home and the Magic Valley in the mid 30s. It did get up into the 40s out in the west end of the valley and stayed in the 20s in the mountain areas this afternoon. And right now, drier air moving through the area with that northwesterly flow. A few isolated snow showers into the western mountains, but that flow is going to turn more southwesterly now, bringing up a lot of moisture into the state. And so winter storm warnings now are in effect in these areas in pink, the west central, Boise, and central mountain areas from tonight through Tuesday night, a prolonged snow event. Heavy snow for the mountains. 2 to 4 feet at higher elevations. Many mountain communities, 1 to 2 feet of snow expected, and even below that in the foothills, up to a foot of snow in some locations. For most of us, though, we'll be seeing lesser amounts in the valleys, mixing with and changing back over to rain, but look at some of these projections for snowfall, and that's just through Sunday evening. The snow will continue on into Monday and Tuesday. So the extended forecast, we get up to 40 degrees tomorrow with some snow showers, breezy conditions, gradually changing over to a rain-snow mix, and then rain showers Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday as we warm up with that snow continuing in the mountains. A cold front Tuesday drops the temperatures and the snow levels back down to the valleys, only in the 30s by Wednesday through the end of the week, but not as much moisture around, so just a slight chance of snow and then drier by Friday.
Well, it's hard to believe another football season at Albertson Stadium has come and gone, except for the famous Idaho Potato Bowl coming up in 11 days. Boise State football seasons always seem to fly by, though. A lot of people were able to catch the games in person, however, enough to make this season the second highest attendance in school history. Pretty impressive. But that got us thinking, before there were fans, before there was a stadium, before there was even a football team, even before there was a BSU, what was in that spot just south of the Boise River? Well, originally, nothing. Just a flat slope with trees and brush. That is until a man by the name of Walter Varner decided to buy it and later develop it into Boise's first airport in 1926.
So the hub at the original location of the Boise Airport was really in existence and operational as a regional airport through the late 1930s. So Boise Junior College had been renting or leasing space on the north side of the river. And when this opportunity arose, they relocated to the south bank and built their first administrative building and added some dormitories and classrooms over time. But it wasn't until much later when the university really decided to expand and build its football stadium that the original airstrip was ultimately paved over and demolished entirely. And so in 1936, thereabouts, the decision was made to officially relocate the Boise Airport to Gowan Field.
Basically where it is now. Yeah, it would be tough for students and Cessnas to occupy the same space, as well as making it tough to study through all that noise, right, of the props. Well, so that's the short version of that now state-owned land. And it's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the story. We haven't mentioned the inaugural flight, the plane crash in an Idaho grain field, the days-long walk with a bag of mail, Varney's decision to move the airport to its current location, of course, and its ties to one of the world's most well-known airlines. All that's going to be coming up for you Monday on the 208. And a quick reminder, 7 Cares Idaho Shares is happening right now. It's going to run through tomorrow, which is our biggest week and then our biggest day of giving, culminating this entire week. 8 to 10:30, we're going to be at 8 different locations across the Treasure and Magic Valley. Stop by, say hi, donate if you can, and if you can't make it out tomorrow, you can still donate right here, right now. Whatever that is, I should say, will go to one of these charities. 3 of them run all of these charities: the Boise Rescue Mission, the Salvation Armies of the Treasure and Magic Valley, and the Idaho Food Bank. And every dollar you donate is going to be matched again this year, thanks again to an anonymous donor. So text 7 Cares, that's all one word, to the number that's on your screen, 208-321-5614. We're going to send you a link directly to your phone so you can donate directly. And no amount is too small. Every dollar buys 4 meals for Idahoans in need. Any donation goes a long way. And right now, as we mentioned, with that anonymous donor, that $1 becomes 2. Boy, y'all have some opinions on Emmett, or even uglier cities across the state of Idaho. Let's start with this one here. Emmett, the ugliest town in Idaho, very ridiculous. A comment by a no-gooder that hasn't been around much. It's kind, pleasant, and roomy. Roomy in the city of Emmett, she says. The annual car show in Emmett is an example of Emmett absolutely at its best, says Steve, who lives in Boise, by the way. And you're right, we got a lot of car show comments today when we were in Emmett. Murtaugh or Castleford, that's some kind of ugly, says Sandy. We got a lot of people saying, oh yeah, what about... Hello, Blackfoot is way uglier than Emmett, says Sheila. This is fun, isn't it? This is a blast. Cuna's not ugly. Now, Pocatello, that's ugly, says Angelo in Meridian. Cuna, yeah, somebody who agrees with that. I think Payette is hideous. So we're just going to be name calling all the rest of the day, which is, again, very fun. I'm for both Emmett and Cuna, says Corey. And, well, you're not wrong, Brian. Both are very unattractive towns. Now, I didn't say that about Emmett. That was a website. I just like to poke fun at Cuna once in a while because, well, it's Cuna. And they're fun, and they can take a joke, which is awesome. Emmett, have you ever been to Shoshone or Dietrich, Idaho? Asks Charlie B. Yes and no, I haven't been to the second one. Emmett is definitely not the ugliest town in Idaho. Buell, however, is the armpit of America, says Reese. Okay, now we're just getting ugly. We don't need to do that. Well, it is an ugly list, so that's fine. Emmett, the ugliest city in Idaho? You ever been to Mountain Home, says Don? No, yeah, I have. Every town is beautiful in its own way. Wear the badge proudly, says Dawn. They also have killer bees, so stay away is what they say.